Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. We sorta have some issues resolved, but still can't get Travis and Jason to play nice. Well, at least their computers to play nice, so I'm not sure what the deal is. But here we go. So I want to take time to thank Jake and Ryan over at Patriot Patch Company. That's patriotpatch.co. Everybody can see behind me. For their bandwidth support. And they make some sweet patches. Like the patch of the month for the current month. Count Draco. There's the sticker. It shows up a little better. So that's the patch of the month. They also have plenty of other cool patches, which there's just a few. So make sure you stop by, say hi. patriotpatch.co. Join the addiction. I want to thank Sean and the gang over at Firearms Radio Network for giving us a place to hang out every week. So appreciate that. Yes, I still have the bubonic plague or whatever the hell it is, and still have that stupid cough. So, except for now, it's gotten fun. When I cough, I get lightheaded, so it's like I'm high. Yeah, without having to do drugs, kids. Anyway, so I did some little more brass prep, working my way through that tub of 223 brass. I still haven't gotten around to getting serious about mounting the other press, so I've just been switching back and forth between decapping and swaging. So that's what I've been doing. Phil?
Squat, regrettably.
Yeah, understand that.
Did we just lose Jim?
No, I'm here.
Oh.
My video is that bad? I might as well mute the camera.
It's gone.
Part of the Gray Man group now.
Okay, I turned off the camera. Hopefully that helps my video. Go ahead, Phil. I'm sure it helps my video some.
I wasn't going to take that cheap shot on you tonight.
Anyway, let's let the lady go next, if you don't mind.
I didn't hear any of the questions because there was a bad echo.
What did you do anything in Guns and Reloading this week, ma'am?
I loaded some more of my zombie green rounds, but I have a managed hunt coming this weekend, so mainly it's been gathering gear and realizing I didn't have an IFAC, so I had to go grab one of those today.
What's an IFAX?
Seriously?
Yeah, in that, well, so my organization does, and horrible. This is what you don't do. When you go shoot, have a first aid kit.
Oh, yeah. It's part of my range bag.
Like, I had stuff where I could stitch and do some minor stuff, but I had no idea where my tourniquet is.
Oh.
So I had to get another one.
Yeah, and honestly, I recommend most high-volume shooters or people that frequent public ranges put 2 tourniquets in the range bag.
I am actually getting a second one Friday.
Well, here's the thing of it. Some people think I'm joking, but I'm actually being very serious because on a very large thigh, on say a 250-pound plus man, one tourniquet's very often not enough to completely stop blood flow if you puncture the femoral artery. And second of all, if you get shot in the leg, what's right on the air side of that leg? The other leg.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to talk about a worst case scenario, zip one through both thighs. Now you need 2 tourniquets. Or 4, if you really want to go over the top.
Yeah, and I knew better because I'm actually part of our community's emergency response team. So there's one in that bag, but I like to leave it in that bag. And I thought I had a second one. It's like, what the heck?
That's okay.
dumbass. No.
No corrective action taken.
So you're going hunting this weekend. You're going to hunt whitetail?
Yes, I am.
Good luck.
I hope so, because where my blind is at, there was plenty of activity.
Did you put out them little yellow pellets made for the grow on corn ears?
No, because this is on conservation, so no
Yeah.
cameras, no
Yep.
setups, no anything. We had to do old-fashioned seek and prepare to destroy.
Okay. Very good. I keep forgetting my video's not working tonight. As for myself, I have a little story. I was going to put it on in the reloading room on Facebook, but I decided to save it for the podcast. I had a rifle come home. After 2 years away from home, I had a rifle come home. A lady from Quebec on Canada, I started to say Quebec, Ontario, and that would be an oxymoron. But anyway, from Quebec up in Canada, a real nice lady and her husband used to be are friends with what used to be my neighbors. She made a very pleasant impression on me and stuff like that. She wanted to go deer hunting, and I left my rifle up there for her to use. Unfortunately, she did manage to harvest a couple deer, but she didn't use my rifle. She used someone else's rifle. No, I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad at all. Just the lady used someone else's rifle, didn't take advantage of what I gave her. So after 2 years, I thought, well, you know what? It's time for it to come home. And I offered to pay shipping and insurance and all that. And instead, I got the rifle delivered by the guy that I entrusted it to. So my Ruger M77 all-weather stainless came home after 2 years, and Jim's a happy camper. I've been working on doing the paperwork. By the paperwork, I mean my shooter's data book. In the reloading room, Sharenda, I created a file called Shooter's Data Book. And it's a good place for you to record information about any particular firearm you might want to put it to. You can use it for handguns. You can use it for rifles. That's the way I set it up. It's not a shooter. It's not a target book. It's not a competitor's book, stuff like that. But it's fairly basic, fairly generic. The rifle was in Canada. I'm sorry. The rifle was in Pennsylvania. The lady lives in Quebec, but nobody wants to take a rifle across the border. So she was to come down from Quebec and visit the folks in Port Allegheny, where I used to live. And when that happened, she'd be able to take and use the rifle. Well, she did borrow another friend's rifle, which is not about 20 miles from Port Allegheny, a little town called Shingle House. And she had great luck, and I congratulate the woman. More power to her. But just after 2 years sitting there, it's like, you know what? I own that rifle. I'm responsible for it. And if she's not going to use it, I'm going to take it home. Well, my good friend Jeff brought it to me. I'm really pleased. And he's not a member of the podcast. He doesn't listen to it. He's not a member of the Reloading Room, but he is on Facebook. But he knows where they are, where and what the two groups are, and all that sort of thing. So you ever go through Port Allegheny? If you ever go through Port Allegheny, wave by when you drive by Jeff's house. He's a good man.
I'm actually looking at the data you have on there now. This is actually pretty nice.
Thank you. I actually created that. The only thing I didn't actually create was the blue targets. You'll find it. It's one of the later pages. I like diamond-shaped targets for bench rest shooting because you can use the points of the diamond. If it's level, you can use the points of the diamond to align your reticle, help keep your reticle and your rifle square and level. You're welcome to it. I can't charge a thing for it. I gave it away.
Thanks.
It's good. Yeah, I create one for each one of my rifles, and I create two for my handguns, or one for two handguns, I should say. But I can't find the book for the 280 Remington, and I hesitate to start a new one. Anyway, so I got the little story there. I'm real happy and pleased that I got my rifle back. And I looked down the bore. I could tell the rifle hasn't been fired. Stainless steel rifle, but the thing is, it's just as clean as the day I gave it to him. I cleaned it before I left it in Pennsylvania. Not that it needed it. It's a stainless rifle and modern powder, modern primers. You could probably go 10 years with a rifle without having to clean it. But it's not a good idea.
Anybody who lends me a firearm, it's not going to sit for 2 years and never not be used. It won't even sit for 2 hours if I had my way.
There you go. I like your attitude, ma'am. Anyway, so the other thing I did in Guns and Reloading is brass prep. 308 brass prep. Now, you see, the thing is, I knew this rifle was coming a couple weeks ago, and that's why I jumped hard and heavy on 308 brass prep. But I didn't want to take and kill the goose, lay the golden egg, and all that sort of thing, or count my chickens before they're hatched. I knew the rifle was coming, but I didn't want to say anything publicly because, well, things have a habit of falling through, you know what I mean? So I've been finished up. I found out that a soda cracker can, you know the kind of can I'm talking about, well, it's like a giant popcorn can. It'll hold like 2 full coffee cans of 308 brass. So now I have to persuade this beautiful lady behind me here that you can't see to start buying more soda crackers or popcorn in a can so I can use the tins to put my brass in. Anyway, so I basically reset my brass prep because I have 2 or 3 coffee cans left to resize, decap, resize. Trim that's already been tumbled. And what's the other operation, Phil? Trim, deburr, chamfer, and do the flash hole. Deburr the inside of the flash hole. That's a one-time operation, but that's all right. I don't mind doing it. To me, it stands to reason that when you create that little funnel effect on the inside, the little tiny little minute chamfer has tendency to be like a megaphone effect. In my head, my mind, it seems like it might make a megaphone effect for the primer flash primer spark as it goes through the flash hole. Hope so.
Well, it's like I tell people, when you're chasing tenths, every little thing matters.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you're still trying to get down to the 1 MOA mark, I'd probably suggest you look elsewhere than uniforming your flash holes for a big improvement. But when you chase tenths, everything matters.
You bet. Well, when I can honestly say I shot 3/10 of MOA at 300 yards, it's like, okay, well, we're doing something right.
No. Beginner's luck.
Hey, Phil, there's a little bird that just flew from my hand to your eyeballs.
I can't see it, Jim.
I could fix that.
I'd love for you to.
No, it's all right.
Because with the tech issues we're having tonight.
No, that's just it. I might kibosh something. So, Mike, I know you're coughing and all that. I take it you didn't do a whole lot in Guns and Reloading?
I already covered that, Jim. You weren't paying attention.
You're right. I was working on the show notes.
So.
Sorry.
Yeah, I said I did some more brass prep.
That you did.
So.
And now you're tossing something around and destroying your camera.
I don't know. I'm just tossing it fast enough that it doesn't focus on it. It stays focused on me.
IFAC, right?
Yep. So Sharonda was talking about an IFAC. This is the one that I take everywhere. It actually sits next to my foot at work in case I need it. Because we now have where I work for the Sun Prairie school district. I work at the district office. We have a lobby, which is public access, and then everything beyond that is locked doors. Well, all the Stop the Bleed kits are on the lobby, on the other side of the locked doors. So in the event that I needed one, kind of hard to get. So that's why I always carry my own, even at work. Plus, I know everything that's, in here. Nice thing is, you can put it on your belt if you want. You can buckle it to a seat belt or whatever you want. And the nicest feature about this, say you've got it buckled onto the back of your seat, grab and go. So, or on your belt or whatever, and you need to give it to somebody else. It's all nice Velcro, nice holder here. So, comes apart real easy.
I wouldn't mind having one for my ankles. Sometimes that stuff can be heavy on belts too.
Yeah. There's a couple companies out there that are working on ankle ones that are actually easy to carry. I know Sean Heron and the gang over at We Like Shooting have talked about quite a few, and I think they got together with Skinny Medic and came up with some. So,
I remember talking to Skinny. He was working on some a while ago. I'm not sure how close to market he is, but there's a couple companies with that in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why we would need an IFAC, individual first aid kit. Thanks for explaining that, Mike. But anyway, why would we need an IFAC? Phil?
Because people are stupid.
Accidents happen on the range.
Negligence happens on the range.
Yep.
Right.
I'll also tell you that I've made a habit for several years now of carrying a tourniquet, an Israeli bandage, and a thing of Quick Clot in both me and my wife's vehicles. Because it's like I tell everybody every day, I'm like, I still to this day have about a 94-mile round trip commute to get to and from work. That's a lot of miles I could run up on a car wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had to yank that IFAC out to patch somebody up from a gunshot wound, but I have pulled up on a couple of car wrecks over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And twice I beat the ambulance there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I tell everybody, I'm like, there's a certain level of medical gear that I say is a no-brainer, and that's like tourniquets, Quick Clot, Israeli bandages, because they're absolute lifesavers. They're cheap, and they're so quick and easy to learn to use. You run out of reasons real fast not to invest in it.
What is an Israeli bandage?
Pressure bandage. It's a big fat piece of gauze with canvas tails on it.
Yep.
Back when you were enlisted, they were probably called
battle dress.
Yeah, battle dress. Another word for them. I inherited the term Israeli bandage. Don't ask where it came from, but that was the colloquialism of the day when I was enlisted. But it's the same thing.
Still the common.
Yeah.
It's actually easier to say than battle dress bandage.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you're talking about. I just had to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Since that's one thing we very seldom cover is the fact that you need to be prepared. I have an individual first aid kit in my range bag. When I go to the range, it goes there with me.
Well, and I actually had this debate with somebody once upon a time who saw me like taking my IFAC and sticking it in my range bag, and they asked me why, and I explained to them, like, well, negligence, gunshot wounds. We're out here with dozens of people with guns, and I don't know all of them. So this is insurance. Mm-hmm. And they made the comment like, well, the range officers, they have a first aid kit right over there behind the desk. I'm like, yeah, do you know what's in it? And they just stopped dead in their tracks. And I'm like, I don't know what's in that first aid kit.
Ow.
I don't know if it's all Band-Aids and, and Tylenol. I don't know if it's tourniquets and hardcore trauma gear. I don't know what's in there. And I don't want to find out.
This is why I love this young man.
I want to deal with the problem right now with the stuff I have right here in my hands.
This is why I love this young man.
Because of my quick wit and snarky personality?
No, you're going to shut up and let the lady speak.
Okay.
Fine. I was just curious. With you guys, have you noticed when people find out that you guys deal with firearms that they just naturally assume you know first aid and you have an emergency kit? I'm running into that a lot. It's almost seems like it's expected.
It's kind of an inherited thing from the military, because that's one of the things the military does do is they do a lot of first aid training. I mean, in the Navy, I got a lot of first aid training when I was on board ship because, well, ships get shot at. And if you're on the receiving end, you might need to take care of somebody. I've forgotten a lot of it. I got out of the Navy in 1975 before most of y'all were born.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Yeah, okay, shut up, girl. Anyway, so the point is, first aid is Most veterans know some first aid.
Yeah. Although to answer your question, Sharenda, I I hesitate to call it like an assumption, but I think it's a reasonable expectation. For those of us who, especially those of us that make a habit to conceal carry, we're concealed carrying ostensibly with the intention of being able to respond to violence perpetrated upon us or someone else. And I always subscribe to the idea that if you're going to carry stuff to make holes, you should carry stuff to plug holes too. So I tell everybody, I'm like, if you're going to conceal carry, or even if you're just a high volume shooter, if you frequent the range a lot, if you're around firearms a lot, stuff happens sometimes. In a perfect world, it shouldn't. But if you're around a lot of guns, it behooves you to have some medical gear on hand and know how to use it. And these days, that information is so easy to get a hold of. We as representatives of the gun community are really running out of good reasons not to take it upon ourselves and integrate that into the training that we always espouse.
Phil, one of the places that's most viable is right there on the other tab, is over on YouTube. You can get a lot of that first aid training on YouTube.
Oh, yes.
Free and easy. Yes, you got to weed out the trash from the good stuff, but even so, the good stuff is there.
Yep. And there's a lot of resources out there on YouTube and podcast world, in physical on-site trainings. There's a lot of really good people out there these days who will happily teach what they know. And then you got guys like me that'll tell you what I know for free just because I want to see more people know how to take care of themselves. I don't know everything, but anything I know, I'm willing to tell.
We do represent the gun community indirectly or directly. Well, as long as Mike and I have been doing it, I guess you could say we are a particular facet, if not that, a facet or a face of the gun community. So anyway. Very good, Mike. Appreciate what you did to the show notes. Okay, well, the first question here on the show. Oh, wait a minute. We don't have a cartridge corner tonight. And the first question we have in the show notes comes directly out of the Reloading Podcast group on Facebook. He has a great podcast. His exact question is, great podcast. They have a question for you. Have a new Taurus G2C, as in Golf 2 Charlie, and the reloads I have used for a year and other 9mm will not feed 125 grain powder coated bullets. I'm sure he means COL 1.09 will not go into battery. Had to go to 1.06 before I got a reliable feed. Any thoughts? He doesn't have any punctuation in here. Made it kind of rough, but my first thought is let the lady speak.
I did not hear that.
You didn't hear that?
No, repeat it, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, great podcast. Have a question for you. Have a new Taurus G2C Golf 2 Charlie, and the reloads I have used for a year and other 9mm will not feed 125 grain powder coated COL of 1.09 will not go into battery. Had to go to 1.06 before I got a reliable feed. Any thoughts? Thank you, John.
That's so funny. We just talked about this earlier this week.
Yes, ma'am.
So just from my experience that I was sharing over at the Women Reload 2 exclamation point group, and I posted a few pictures out there too. I have two particular brands of brass that if I catch them, I set them over to the side. Every once in a while, one will sneak in. Those run a little long, and so they won't fit in my case gauge. But when I went back and put them through my barrel after I stripped my gun, they did fit. One of the things that I've also started doing on those particular brass, I'll go ahead and just readjust my machine just so I can stay in the habit of tweaking here and there, and just change the depth, the seating depth of them.
Do you do anything with the crimp, Sharenda?
I have not had to do anything with the crimp. The crimp stays pretty much consistent on all of them. It's just the seating depth that I've had issues with.
Well, you see, the primary criteria there of the seating depth is whether or not it fits in the magazine, not in the chamber. You know, if I know you haven't, but the longtime listeners know I have bitched, moaned, and groaned, railed, and complained, and carried on like a madman about that particular issue. Why in the Jiminy do we have to build our ammunition to fit a magazine rather than fit the barrel of the gun where it's designed to go into? Well, that's just a curse that we have to live with. Anyway, Phil, you got any thoughts?
I do. No mention. Well, no mention was made of. Excuse me 1 second. Let me clear this frog out. Anyway, no mention was made over what specific bullet or even type of bullet was being used, other than 125 grain. I think the gentleman might have meant 124 to 9mm. But I mean, looking at round nose versus flat point data, there could be a pretty sizable difference in the OAL depending on whether or not he's using a round nose or flat point or a hollow point bullet. And I wonder if perhaps what was happening was switching this ammo into this Taurus, that the very end of the bullet was actually impacting the rifling before the gun went fully into battery, and that might be the problem. And if that's the case, if he was running a flat base bullet at 1.09, it's very possible that may have been the problem.
You do mean flat nose, right? Not
flat nose. Yes. The point remains, based on the actual dimensions design of the bullet itself, it could have been just beginning to engage the rifling before the gun went all the way into battery, and that could very well explain, the difference. Because just comparing random bullet data, I mean, in the Hornady data, 124 grain full metal jacket round nose says to load at 1.15, and for the FMJ flat points, it's saying 1.05, 10,000 shorter. Now, bearing in mind that with the tip of that bullet clipped off, the bullet itself is shorter, but it could also be a factor of like the what's the word I'm looking for here, Jim? Like the profile of the bullet is changed as well. The bullet may be less pointy.
Absolutely.
So I wholeheartedly, I wouldn't be immediately concerned by the fact that he had to change the seating depth to get reliable feeding. What I would warn him of is 9mm is a bullet with a very, very small case capacity compared to a lot of others. Going 3,000 shorter on the overall length is probably not pushing you into dangerous territory necessarily, but I would urge the gentleman to go back and look at his load data and verify that he's using an overall length that correlate and a charge weight that correlates to whatever data he's using.
I do believe you mean, Phil, forgive me again, I got to correct you. I do believe you mean 30 thousandths, not 3 thousandths.
Yes.
Sorry.
Point remains, loading shorter means for the same charge weight of pressure means higher pressure. And in 9mm, because you're starting with a smaller boiler room, a smaller volume, that pressure ramps up very, very quickly when you start loading shorter. So that's like my only warning to the gentleman is I'm not entirely put off by the fact that he had to load shorter to get the gun to go in a battery. He needs to go back and take a second look at his load data. Because if the load data doesn't say 1.06, I get really hesitant about telling him to load that short. And if it does say 1.06, go back to your starting charge and rework your load.
Go ahead, Sharenda.
Oh, and I wanted to add, I didn't mention it on mine, but I load 124, 125, 147, round nose, flat nose. I also have 356 diameter, so that can play a role too. And those casings that I have that are a little longer, I could trim them, but I don't. But I know which ones that they are. So let me add that disclaimer in there too.
Well, the lady in the Kunats just stole all the thunder, just about all the thunder I have. The only thunder I wanted, my last point was about using reloaded ammunition for another 9mm. I have no problem with that. I would suggest that John check his outer diameter of the case at the mouth where the crimp was, making sure that he's within spec, if not slightly under. And I mean slightly, 2 thousandths, maybe 3 thousandths at the most under spec, because you go more than like 10 thousandths under, you're going to run into headspace issues, meaning that the case headspace is on the mouth, and you won't be able to engage the mouth of the chamber. Anyway, that was the only other point that I had. Thank you, Phil. That was very good.
I try. Speaking from a little bit of personal experience, having beat my head against the wall a few times.
Well, the feed ramp and so on and so forth, you change platforms like that, radical platform. He doesn't even say what he used prior to buying the Taurus Golf 2 Charlie. But, 9mm isn't just 9mm.
No, I will say, though, that I think he might have stumbled onto or directly hit the root problem overall, the loaded overall length of the ammo. Because, 9mm, a lot of people don't realize, is not a straight wall cartridge. It's a very slightly tapered cartridge. And it is one of the more forgiving pistol cartridge, semi-auto pistol cartridges in terms of being very forgiving in chambering. So if that round won't chamber in your gun, there's a problem.
Yes, sir.
Overall length could certainly do it.
And Sharenda hit on a good point. She uses a Wilson, I think it's a Wilson case gauge. And I know she was concerned about that. Some of the ammo she was getting. Well, as a matter of fact, as I recall, Sharenda, it was a 380 auto round that you loaded up at 9mm sizes accidentally because it got mixed into your brass.
Nope.
Yeah. I've done it.
No, that wasn't it. Yeah, no, that wasn't it.
Oh, my mistake.
I have done it intentionally so I can show the ladies that if they're not careful, because someone in the group said it won't load, and I'm like, no, that's not true. It can load.
Yes, it will load. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
yeah, but
it will.
Yeah, and my issue was it was just those casings. When I looked at it later, I'm like, oh damn, it's these dirty box Winchesters. Oh, sorry, I cursed.
False them sponsor.
Trust me, that's not the worst we've heard on this show. But anyway, so the thing is, the diameter of the case mouth, the your overall length, like Phil pointed out, that was my major point, was when you shrink the inside volume of the case, you diminish the boiler room, which increases pressure. And Sharenda had a good point too about fitting it to the magazine. Or that was my point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll just go as far as say that veteran listeners to the podcast probably remember a story I told probably about a year ago of a gentleman that accidentally loaded some 9mm a little shorter than the data said, and he paid for it with having to have his gun rebuilt. Thankfully, didn't hurt himself or hurt anybody else, but that gun needed some work after it got done with that.
In particular, what kind of sort of gun was it, Phil?
Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm. 9mm round was, I think, loaded about 30 thousandths of an inch too short.
30 thousandths. That's not much.
And it was a medium warm charge. Within the data, it was within the data for the OAL it was supposed to be, but it was loaded too short.
Phil, that just brought up the point. That's why I corrected you about 3 thousandths versus 30 thousandths.
Fair point.
Yeah. Good job, Phil. Good job. For real. Okay, we have another question. As soon as I can find it. There we go.
This would be a bar fight.
This actually came out of a different group altogether. D posted, admins, what have you found best? What have you found are best? What products have you found are best? Shit. Can't. Take that out, Hookem. Yeah. D posted, admins, what products have you found are best? Smokeless powder, bullets, cartridges, and primers. And what are the better sites to order from and best kinds to use? I'll be reloading 9mm and 223s. Well, my first thought is There's a Rocky Mountain Reloading company that puts up a lot of 9mm pulled bullets, and he puts them up at a pretty good price. I believe it's RockyMountainReloading.com, something like that. You guys Google it up. He puts up quite a few 223 components, and why not give the guy a little boost? How about you, Phil?
My go-tos, honestly, I mean, for years and years, I've been ordering stuff from Sage's Reloading. Their prices have always been reasonable. Their service is really good, and I've just never had a problem with them. So as long as they meet those three criteria, I usually keep doing business with somebody.
Yep.
More recently, I met Nick DeVratos from Red Eye Reloading and did a little bit of business with him. Been really impressed with his knowledge, so I think I'm going to be patronizing him a fair bit in the future too.
Yep.
But as far as like specific components and stuff, this can turn into a bar fight real fast. I mean, right now I'm so overstocked on like 9mm bullets. I'm still sitting on boxes upon boxes of extreme bullets. I don't even know if they still sell them. I heard the company went bankrupt, but I've got like 5,000 or 6,000 round boxes of things stacked up in my garage. And I'm not really big on what I load for 9mm. For 223 or 556, I've been loading 55 grain Hornady. They're FMJ or boat tail FMJs. That's what I've been loading for a while. They get the job done, and they're reasonably priced wherever you find them.
That's what I told the reloader when I replied to the question. Use a 55 grain FMJ BT for 223.
Yeah, I mean, for 223, that 55 grain full metal jacket boat tail, it's a good Goldilocks round. It runs just fine, and everything from a 1 in 12 twist down to like a 1 in 8 or 1 in 7. Mm-hmm. It's not optimal in the faster twist rates, but it runs.
Yep.
I mean, they're reasonably consistent. It's not a match bullet, but it's not designed to be. But for a plinker, for a training round, for a rainy day round, I mean, I load cans full of things, and they are consistent. They're not match consistent, but they are consistent enough for what they are that I've been happy to. I haven't gotten off the reservation with those. I keep buying them.
Well, the thing is, too, the cartridge was designed to be operated with that particular style of bullet, 55 grain FMJ in ball ammo, military ball ammunition.
True that. And otherwise, I mean, powders, Jesus.
Well, you were talking about Nick DeVratos. Well, I've been patronizing a local group here and a local organization here in North Carolina, Blue Collar Reloading. I'm not trying to take and boost them. I know I just gave them a plug. Those two kids are working their backsides off to take and keep feeding the reloading community, and they're growing. And that's a good thing. I'm going to a gun show in November next month, about a month from now, as a matter of fact, and I'll take and see what I can pick up at the gun show from them, even if it's nothing more than a pack of match grade primers for large rifle. I pick up something from those kids.
When I came back from prepper camp, I came home with 2,000 small rifle primers and a box of what were they? 55 grain soft points for 5.56.
Ooh, that's a nice hunting bullet.
Yeah,
within limitations, within proper. Yeah, I know, Phil. I can see the evil in your eye.
I don't do a lot of hunting, but let's say it's exactly the kind of bullet I would load at high velocity because it'll go off like a grenade when it hits small woodland creatures.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Sharenda, you have some more input to answer the question?
It's whoever on sale for me. I'm more or less a plinker outside of sport and clay and a little bit of hunting I do here and there. Primer wise, whoever has the rebate is who I go with. Like a couple of months ago, Chico actually told me this Winchester had them. You got back $5 for ever so many. I went with them. Brass wise, it's people bring me literally sandwich bags full of brass. I have no idea what they are. So I've never bought brass. I've been blessed. I've never had to buy brass. Bullet wise, Chico actually got me hooked on the coated bullets. Chico Wise, it's in the chat room right now. I do like his coats, but he doesn't sell them. Hoosier bullets, I got some samples from them, like those coated wise. Locally, I get better deals than I do online because we have places like Shields, Academy Sports. They clearance that stuff out depending on what area you live in. And, you know, I'm female. I know where the sales are at. I actually have a chart that I keep on who throws what on sale and how often they rotate the stuff. So I look out that way. I have used Barry's bullets. Most of the time I shop, was it Midway USA? Palmetto a lot, but I can't remember if I get parts or I think it's just parts from them. I'm not reloading stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I am a reloading grocery whore, so I'm kind of all over the place with it.
So I guess here's the question: in 9mm or 5.56, do you have a favorite powder?
Yeah.
Since you seem to be otherwise agnostic when it comes to most of the components.
Hodgdon pistol, I use tight group. Also, my rifle rounds, I use Hodgdon powder.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, they're local. For me,
That's
anyway.
right. I forgot. That's right. They're out there in Kansas.
Yes, they are local, and I actually do demos for them on Reload, and so I gotta go with the company that feeds me. And I was using them before I started working for them too.
Phil, there's a Ogden powder that's equivalent of WW748. A Winchester Western 748 is one of the original powders that was designed to be used in 5.56 NATO.
Yeah. Do you know what the Hodgdon equivalent is?
That's what I'm saying. I know there is one, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I don't know either without
See, like
WW296
and H110 are supposed to be the same powder. I can't remember what the heck that was. I know there's an equivalent. It might even be the same powder renamed.
Searching. You said it was WW748?
Yes, sir.
Very similar to H335.
That sounds good.
I mean, I'm just Googling this at this point, but
That's
I know H335 is like a very, very, very traditional 5.56 full power powder.
Yep.
I've actually got a can of the stuff in the garage. I just haven't taken to loading it yet. But that's kind of next on my list, is to get off the reservation and do some playing around with 5.56. Although H335 is a little bit faster than what I have in mind, because I think my next reloading project is going to be loading 77 gram Match Kings. Yes, Jim?
Anyway, what I was going to say is, in my case, what I did, I invested in quite a bit of military pull-down powder. And it's powder that was actually pulled out of 5.56 cases. It was resold. They can't reuse it because the military does not do reloading. They don't reuse components. When they take them apart, they sell them as salvage. And I got it for a great price. And the powder's name is WC846. Anyway, the reloading data comes from BLC2. That's the Ogden powder I was thinking of, Phil. BLC2, that's very similar to 748.
And I think I've got about 3 or 4 more pounds of that stuff in the garage. I've actually loaded a fair bit with the BLC2. It seems to come up on pressure a little faster than CFE 223 in my experience, but
it's an older powder. It's a dated powder, but it's an effective powder.
Daggum straight it is.
I think Mike's holding up a can of it. or reading the label. No, you got it. You got it there in your hand, Mike. What do you got?
No, this is the original BLC type or BL Type C, not the BLC 2. So.
Dadgum, is that the original can?
Mm-hmm.
Just on a side note,
Still powder in it.
When I find old cans like that, like matter of fact, I gave my father one because he wanted to load the powder that was in it. But I told him, don't dare throw those cans out when you're done, because like I love those old metal powder cans.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like when the powder's all gone, I will clean them out and hang on to them, and they will be like man cave ornaments.
One of my favorite scents, one of my favorite aromas is the ether that comes off the IMR powders.
If I had any sense of smelling left, I'd probably be able to enjoy it along with you, but I'll take your word on it.
Well, you know what ether smells like.
Kinda.
Red Dot. Mikey's got some stuff. Anyway.
I'm not going to hold up my little plastic bottles.
No, you're fine. You should hold up what you got.
I have a can just like that, Mike.
Unique.
I don't load Unique though.
You should.
Heretic.
I don't load Type Group either.
You should. I use it for all my handgun loads, including 44 Magnum, all the way down to the 9mm.
I use Hodgson Universal for all that.
Well, the one powder will do.
Look, we had this conversation a long time ago.
We did.
A lot of people fell into Unique and Type Group for obvious reasons. They're very versatile, good powders. In my local area, when I first started reloading, literally the only powder I could find that would load 45 ACP at the gun store around the corner from my house was Hodgson Universal. And I had load data for it, and I went with it.
That's okay.
But yeah, I still get it from
Universal.
I still get it from veteran reloaders. Like, what do you mean you don't load any Type Group? I'm like, I don't.
Well, if you can't get it, you can't get it. There, Mike's got a can. What is that, Mike?
It was $296.
Yeah, that's a good 357-44 powder.
Win 296 H110. Those are my play. Those are my
Another can of Unique.
No, yeah, that was Bullseye.
That was the first powder I ever reloaded. Was 296. Big old fireball.
Makes a pretty good size fireball 9mm too. I'm sorry, not H110. 347 Magnum.
Yeah, it does. But it's a little slow for 9mm. Unique is better for 9.
Power pistol and 9mm. That one will widen your eyeballs.
That grin is evil, Phil.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you.
You need to patent that thing.
A max charge of power pistol in 9mm is an eye-opening experience. When you can see the fireball in broad daylight, you know you've stumbled on something fun. And then I had people coming by asking me what the heck I was shooting because they didn't think it was 9mm.
You're just disgusting, Phil.
I'm a recoil junkie. We've had this conversation.
Many times.
Scare the heck out of me is just about right.
So what powders do you have there, Sharenda, if you don't mind sharing?
I have the Hodgson Type Group. I also have the 435 and 223.
You H435 or 335?
H435.
Okay. And Mike's still showing off powder. He's got quite a collection there. Myself, I use WC846, and I use the I like Unique. Now for my 280 Ackley improved, I use RL22, and for my 308, I like IMR 4895 when I'm not reloading that military pull-down powder. I actually had to redevelop a load for that, Phil, because I couldn't figure out why it was running. The pressure was so hot. So I went back and read the label on the canister. It said you should load everything at 10% below BLC2. So
actually, the real problem is Jim was pulling so many bullets that day when he was on KP duty that he didn't remember which cartridges he was. So he mixed up some 308s and some 556.
Okay. So blame it on me. But anyway, no, that's my minimum load of WC846 was the maximum load on BLC 2.
I got some military pulled on powder up there somewhere too, but I don't know where it is. What I got to do is I got to come up with something to load that 3031.
That's a good 30-30 cartridge powder.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
That's a fact. It's real good in 30-30.
I got like 4 pounds of 3031.
Well, yeah, are you going to start shooting about 2,000 rounds of 30-30?
My brother's got one, so.
Here's a question y'all might be able to help me out with. What in the world would I do with a bunch of Rotumbo?
Loaded in big cartridges like 30-06 or bigger.
Okay.
Or better yet, Phil. Are you ready? It's coming.
Don't you dare tell me get 338 Lapua.
Absolutely.
Damn you, old man.
This is coming from the guy who can't get his truck to run because the squirrels ate the wiring.
Hey, it got fixed.
It might have got fixed, but you don't have a survival truck. You got a truck that can't cross a mud puddle without getting wet.
Look, I took care of the problem, okay? But on a modern truck with a lot of sensors and OBD2 on it, when you chew up a wiring harness, it pisses it off real bad.
Yeah. Travis and I were going to tear you a new one. It's a shame Travis ain't here tonight.
Y'all have good fun with that, guys. It's fixed and it runs, and it has not gotten stuck yet.
That's because you keep it out of the puddles.
That's because I have the common sense not to put it places it ain't supposed to go. Look, you can go mudding in all kinds of stuff if you just have some common sense about you.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. It usually isn't the vehicle. It's almost always the driver.
I put it this way. I got a front-wheel drive car unstuck out of the mud one time, and everybody sat there and looked at me like I was a wizard. And I was like, you just got to know how to drive, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Cool how that works out. But in any case, I just asked because I've got like several pounds of Rotumbo that I got in that big load of free powder, and nothing I load will take it. And I don't know anybody around here that shoots really big cartridges either.
338 Lapua, Phil. That's your cartridge, buddy.
I do not know anyone around here that fires very large
You're
cartridges.
the guy that passed up. You're the guy that passed up an $800 338 Lapua.
I got $800.
I can relate to that.
Me too. But we'd like to bust on Phil, that's all.
Yeah. They love to bust on me. That's okay. It'll get got one day. I just got other priorities.
So Rotumbo means echo of thunder.
No joke.
No joke.
That's cool.
Some of the more popular ones. You've got your good old 300 rum, 3378 with 7 rum, 7 STW, 300 Win Mag.
Yeah, the belted cartridges.
I know it's a lot slower than anything I use. So.
Yeah, I know 338 Lapua is not belted. I know that.
28 Nosler.
Wow. That means I could use Rotumbo in the 280 Ackley Improved I have because it's the ballistics are almost identical. They are different. Chambers are different too, but I could probably use that in that.
Hey, Phil.
Yes.
6.8 or 6.5 PRC.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Quit licking your chops, Phil. You're getting your screen wet.
No creep.
Now I have to wonder how to sneak 2 rifles into this house.
Save your pennies. That's all I can tell you.
I'm working on it, guys.
Now, I literally have an account that's called my gun money account. That's where it goes. That's all I use it for.
Well, without getting all political, let's just say that at the beginning of this year, my gun money was quickly reprioritized due to some political musings. So I'll get back onto building and buying very large, boomy bolt actions at a later date.
300 PRC.
I don't know. 330 Lapua just has such a nicer ring to it.
It does.
What about 338 Win Mag? Is there such a thing? I think there is.
Uh-huh.
But
I
it's
know
No.
for a fact.
338 Remington Ultra Mag, but not a 338 Win Mag.
Hang on a second.
Oh, sorry, I take that back. They hit it. For some reason, it goes 338 Win Mag, 340 Weatherby Mag, 338 Lapua Mag, then 338 Remington Ultra Mag. So obviously,
338 rum. That sounds like it sounds like you're saying the 338 rum is a little stronger than the 338 Lapua.
But since 338 Win Mag got up, my brother-in-law has one. It's a 458 Magnum. It's a Winchester 458 Magnum cartridge.
no recipes.
Neck down. I'm talking about the brass.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know there's no recipes for Rotumbo.
Oh, I thought you were saying don't give out any recipes. I'm like I wasn't, but
We do recipes frequently, but everybody that takes a recipe down from us, they're on their own.
no. But as far as 338 Win Mag, let's see here. Maximum cartridge overall length 3.34 inches. Drives a bullet from 185 grain up to 250 grains. Looks like it'll shove a 250 grain bullet at better than 2,600 feet per second.
That'll leave a mark.
Yeah, I've got some 338 caliber. I want to say they're 250 grain match bullets sitting down in the garage with a bunch of H1000. And my brother-in-law has a 338 Win Mag that I've just been begging him to come over and let's play with it. And then he starts complaining about how he only has two shoulders and he needs both of them for work. But bruises heal, chick stick scars. It'll be all right.
I'm just looking at some of the chat. So,
Anything interesting?
talking about different powders and what's better, what's not. So,
yeah, like I said, I mean, a question of like what's the best powder that can turn into a bar fight so fast.
Oh, Chris Sharp is taking you to task about taking your truck out of the driveway.
Chris Sharp can come and talk to me in person down in Southeast Louisiana.
Vanessa Kitty has a
fruitcake recipe to offer. That's cute.
And I said, I'm down for some fruitcake. Because I'm nutty as a fruitcake. Anyway. So, for your 338 Lapua Magnum, Rotumbo has 4 different bullet weights, 225, 250, 275, and 300.
300 grain bullets. That's 3/4 of an ounce.
Uh-huh.
And what's the velocity on that? Just off the top of your head, Mike, or right quick. Any idea?
The velocity on that for 84 grains would be 2501.
Oh,
90.5 grains, it would be 2662, generating a whopping 62,200 psi.
oh my God. I just think I could just feel that recoil now. I'm a big guy, and it's like big guys like you, me, Phil, we all get hammered with recoil. You put a little man on that 338, and that thing just seems to ride right over him, or he rides right on the recoil with the recoil. But big guys like us, we soak it up, and it hurts.
Well, Phil, Chris said he'll bring the 338. You bring the powder.
It ain't going to go very far, considering a 285 grain match bullet and 338 Lapua takes anywhere from 81 to 93 grains per round.
Yep. So
Rotumbo.
how much Rotumbo do you have?
I think like 3 or 4 pounds.
That's why you need so much.
I can load a 250, 300 rounds.
So we'll go with 3 pounds. You could, at 95 grains, you could load 221 rounds.
That'd be good for a couple of afternoons.
Chico always put in there about asking a serious question about using 335, H335 for 308 Win. And that's what I was telling you. We were discussing 335 H335 is the equivalent of 748, WW748. It's a good powder, Chico. That's what we think. It should be a very good powder.
I don't think. Don't ask me.
Well, I know 748 is the original powder for one of the original powders that was manufactured for 5.56, and it's pretty good in 308.
Well, some of us don't own a 308, so I have nothing to offer yet.
Yeah, I like that. I like your attitude.
What?
Hey, man, I kind of like rent, lights, gas, food.
Yep.
Bearing in mind all the gaff I have to take from people about not having 338, I'll give you that one. But on a serious note, a 308 Winchester should be on your shopping list one day because, they're fun.
It is, Phil.
Well, I'm actually going to
look at
build
the chat.
one next year.
Look at the chat, Phil. Yep. You going to build an AR-10?
Yep.
Good on you.
I got the lower already and a charging handle, so I'm part way there.
I have none of the above but a picture, hopes, and dreams.
Save your pennies in your gun money account. Don't use it for nothing else, even in emergencies.
Oh, I'm counting on those sales so I can get the lower for half the price after Thanksgiving. Took the day off and everything.
You got to watch it because I got a AR-10 and an AR-15 lower and a Ruger LC9S for $299 a year ago.
You're a thief,
on
Mike.
PSA.
Where?
Yes. Yeah,
you need to send me that info.
Quick question, Sharenda, because I don't want to insult your intelligence, but it's something a lot of people don't realize that's actually a big issue about building AR-10s. Are you aware there's two different standards for the AR-10?
Yes.
Okay. I just have to ask because a lot of people don't know, and if you weren't aware, I could put you in touch with the co-host on my podcast because he built his own AR-10 from parts, and he ran into a lot of those little issues.
Why don't you get me in touch with him anyway? Because I like info, regardless if I know it or not. You never know when you're going to learn one more new thing.
I can accommodate that.
Sharenda, look at the host chat. Mike put up there where he got to all those parts and the price.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
So
it's not a secret. It's not a secret, Mike. You put it up on the show last year.
So back to the previous question, because you guys carried off to question number 3 before I got to put any input for question number 2.
Sorry.
So I'd just like to share a little data from Sierra. And so we'll do this, and we'll do this. Oh, better clean the screen. A little dirty. That's better. So if I can hold it still, we can get the camera to focus. Come on. There we go.
There we go.
So I would like everybody to notice where the highlighted bar is.
It's white on yellow. I can't read it.
And then I'll move it up so it's out of the way. Okay. So now it's out of the way. So notice we're looking at load data for 124 grain jacketed hollow point V crowns, which are the fancy new bullet they made for 6 Hour. Notice how one of the COALs is 1.090, and the other COAL for the exact same is 1.030. And then the same thing for the 125 grades. So, my point, your mileage may vary. Every single different source you look at will tell you different COALs. I've got Hornaday's 9th. 124 grain COAL is 1.060 for the Hornaday XTPs. And then they don't list 125 grain. In Lyman 50th, the 124 grain has a 1.060 OAL, and then the 125 grain jacketed hollow points is a 1.075 OAL. And then I looked somewhere else, and it had a option for 1. I forget it. I don't remember what it was, so I'm not giving it out. So,
Well, like the man said, your mileage may vary.
So it kind of goes to prove that you need to, above all else, start at your minimums, work your way up, watch for pressure signs. And my immediate suggestion would be get some factory ammo and try seeing it if it'll feed. If not, you may have a chamber issue.
That's right. It's a new gun.
Mm-hmm.
And new guns have been known to be manufactured incorrectly.
Yep. But I would probably do a plunk test on everything. And what a plunk test is when you actually pop the barrel out of the frame and out of the slide and drop rounds into the barrel. I'd show you, but my 9's all the way upstairs. So.
Well, we recently taught someone how to do a plunk test.
Yep. So.
I could do it.
Feel free.
If you want to.
All right, let me go grab it.
Yeah, and what Tim was saying about usually you bell out the case at the mouth a little bit when you seat the bullet. So if you don't crimp that back enough on all those and you're not consistent in your loading, that could cause the problem he has also. So you nailed it with that.
That's what I think it is. Because he's using powder coated, which implies a lead bullet, which you always have to bell mouth the case for a lead bullet. You got to bell mouth it a little tiny bit bigger than you do for jacketed. Because the jacketed will slide right in because of the tensile strength of the copper, whereas the lead will shave right off, and probably the powder coat will too. So that's why I say the reloaded ammo probably needs a little tiny bit tighter crimp at the mouth of the case. That's why he needs to take his calipers and check the diameter of the cartridge in that area.
Yep.
Certainly a possibility.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, that's the thing about when you're having feeding issues in a firearm with reloaded ammo, you really have to just go step by step by step with a set of calipers and double check your work. I mean, we can all sit here and hurl suggestions out, but at the end of the day, that caliper is going to tell you who's right and who's wrong and where the problem is.
Yep.
That and a good plunk test and a couple of little incidental tests, but that's what I tell everybody. At the end of the day, you got to go step by step through the whole thing.
Yep.
Now, I will say that the one thing I usually do to try to beat myself to the answer is if I know I'm having an issue with ammunition chambering in a firearm that has chambered fine in another firearm, what I'll typically do is I'll actually take a case and run it through my process minus I won't charge it, I won't put a primer in, and I won't put a bullet in. I will resize and I'll expand the case, and then I'll run it through the seating die without a bullet in there so it crimps it. And I'll drop that into the chamber. And if that goes home, you can rule out sizing and you can rule out brass length and you can rule out crimp. Because those three things are accounted for in that empty piece of brass. That reduces the number of variables that can be causing the problem down to basically your seating depth of your bullet. But I try to tell people that's one of the ways you can try to diagnose your problems. Size a piece of brass, don't bell mouth it, drop it in the chamber, see if it goes. Bell mouth it, it shouldn't go into the chamber. Crimp it, and it should go into the chamber. And one step at a time, try it, stick it back in the chamber of the firearm.
Nice analogy on how to build a dummy load.
Well,
dummy round.
That's all. That's all something I advocate. I mean, the first 5 or 6 rounds for every cartridge I've ever loaded that came off my press came off with no powder in them, and those are dummy rounds that I've still got a little tray that sits up on my reloading bench, and it's all the dummy rounds I ever loaded. And I use them for training. I take them out to the range occasionally and drop them in magazines to simulate a stoppage. I use them to to function check my firearms after they've been disassembled for cleaning. I use them for all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, what those do is they let me set my equipment, and they exist to reset my equipment if I need to. Because now I have a round I can index very quickly if let's say I take my dies apart to clean them and I need to figure out my seating depth. All I have to do is put the dummy round in the press, run the rambo to the top, and just run that seating stem down until it contacts top of the bullet. And as long as I'm still loading with that exact same bullet, the dies will be close. And it's good practice.
Well said. Sharenda, you got something for us, ma'am?
Yes, these I don't snuff or whatever they call it. I just like the containers. These are ones that will not go on my case gauge. I set them off to the side so I can show the ladies later, but they do fit in my barrel, and I have shot them. They're just fine.
Well, case gauges are known for being cut to the minimum sizes.
Can you guys see this?
Absolutely. Now, that's it. Hold it in front of your curtains. That's perfect where you are. That's perfect. Now, guys, notice the headspace. It's about 2-3 thousandths below the heel of the barrel, the upper heel. That's perfect headspace, and that's a nice little plunk test. Ma'am, if you wouldn't mind, pick that cartridge up and drop it into the chamber where we could see it. Very good. Now hold it, move it over slightly over to your left a little bit. Thank you. Now you see the silhouette? It's perfect. That's a perfect cartridge. You say that won't fit in your case gauge?
It will not. My case gauge is way somewhere else on the other side, but probably stops about right there in the case gauge.
Goes to show you that a case gauge may not be infallible, or they're cut too small.
Now, I've also cheated and done that with my 243s before I went and got a case gauge for it. I would just drop them in the barrel and, it fits. Let's hope I have my face tomorrow. And
no, look, that's not cheating. That is the ultimate last word in whether or not the round is properly manufactured.
That's right.
Prior to actually firing it, if it fits
for the individual firearm, absolutely
yep.
Right.
If it fits it sits, it goes. But if it doesn't fit in the chamber, go back to the drawing board.
I was checking to see if I needed to clean it. It's pretty clean.
Matter of fact, that's another, since we always talk about how we cater to the new reloaders, that's a really good check you ought to run, is to pull the barrel out of your firearm if at all possible, or if you're dealing with a bolt action, pop the bolt out, drop your reloaded ammo into the chamber, and make sure it goes all the way in before you pack it up and go to the gun range and irritate the heck out of yourself when your ammunition won't feed.
Well, as I recall, 2 or 3 podcasts ago, I literally asked this fine lady, if she knew how to field strip her gun. Thank God she did. And she obviously does. She didn't do it on the air, but she field stripped that, and she had to get that barrel out. Thank you, ma'am.
Every gun I own, I made it a point to know how to field strip it without needing YouTube or the manual, and that's one of the things I stress to my ladies group, because if we're out in the country, there's no signal, and 6 times out of 10, somebody left their manual.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, if you drop your gun in the dirt and you get it filled up with dirt somehow, that gun will not cycle.
Particularly if you drop my second one.
The New York reload, huh?
Hey, boys.
Yeah.
And ma'am, I think the gentleman that asked the question about the 9mm just showed up in the chat, or at least I just noticed him. All good suggestions. I'm going to do more research. Also, it ate factory loads like candy.
Well, look at that. Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. We appreciate that. Appreciate you letting us use your question.
So yeah, if it's eating factory ammo and it's having issues with yours, I think we've given you some good. We've put you on the trail. Start with a set of calipers. Start with a Plunk test. Start by reviewing your data. You know, you got to get on the trail to figure out exactly where the hangup is coming from. But like I'd mentioned earlier on the show, please double check that overall length you're loading to that is feeding correctly is the appropriate overall length for the data you're using, because 9mm does not tolerate being loaded short very well. I mean, it's not like crazy hairline, 1,000th of an inch short blow your gun up. I'm just saying that 9mm does not tolerate being loaded short quite as well as some others will. You have less case volume to start with, and you have less to give up before your pressure goes through the ceiling.
So Johnny from Johnny's Reloading Bench joined us, and he gave us some more info. H335 does work. Where did that comment go? He said Pico-wise, H335 and CFE 223 are good combo of powders for 308, cover all the weight ranges with great velocity. H335 will give outstanding velocities with lighter bullets. It still works up to 168 grain and beyond, but slower powders will get better velocities with the heavy bullets. So go check out his channel. It's amazing. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, Johnny's Reloading Bench is one of those few YouTube channels I watch whenever I have time. The man knows some stuff.
Yeah. So John did say he found out published data that works. So
okay.
So back to the show notes. So last comment, and then we got to wrap it up because I got to go pick up the kids from work. So Gannon sent us an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. I just listened to 272. I powder coat and I also tumble lube. So he does both. Hey, how about that? I played around with glow-in-the-dark bullet ID, and it is very easy to do. All you have to do is paint the back of the bullets with the glow-in-the-dark paint. I had success with 9mm, 38 Special, 357, and 223. He had success with the pistol rounds, not with the rifle. Probably due to speed and lack of surface area. Makes sense. And he said, the flash of the powder charges the bullet for about 3 seconds. Not long, but the bullet is moving fast enough to overcome that short window of time. It turns the rounds into non-incendiary tracers, similar to the popular streak ammo. Rounds can be seen from the side or the front, due to the paint only being present on the base of the bullet. Oh, can't be seen from the side or the front, due to the paint only being present on the base of the bullet. Meaning that the shooter and people close behind will be the only ones to see the streak, giving a tactical advantage over traditional incendiary tracers. That could be.
I have used streak bullets. They were fun.
Nice.
That's all I have to add to it, other than.
Looks like I'm going to make my own.
Yeah.
Did you make your own streak bullets, Sharonda?
No, when they first came out, they came to our local range and well, it was a fun day. So not only did I get to shoot different guns, but I got to use their ammo. And they turned off the lights, so we could play around with them. It was a good example to some of the ladies to show them shooting in the dark that you're not always aiming where you think you're aiming.
All right. So that kind of wraps it up for tonight. Hopefully next week we'll get going on time. So I don't know. Still kind of working the bugs out with the new system. And if we keep having issues, then we may not stay with this and we may go with another option. We do have other options out there, including some awesome stuff that one of the listeners put together for us. So it's not like we don't have any options ready to go. So anyway, wanted to take time to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Want to take time to thank everybody who comments, gives us thumbs ups, likes, subscribes on the videos. And just want to thank everybody who sends emails in, who goes over to firearmsradio.tv/reloading-podcast and leaves comments there. Just awesome. We appreciate all of it. So want to take time to thank all of our Patreons who help make this whole entire thing possible and give us the funds to be able to do some other stuff with it. And I want to thank all the hosts for joining us every week. Anybody have any shout outs?
I'll give a real sappy one to all the listeners because, if y'all stop showing up and stop listening, there's really not a lot of reason for us to be here every week.
That's a fact.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you something. Enthusiastic listeners, from the perspective of a podcaster who runs his own show, enthusiastic listeners make this worth it. Mm-hmm. When you can influence someone and you hear from them that something they recommended, some information they gave, some help they gave, made a positive influence in your reloading, your life, your whatever, that is a recharge for the hosts.
Mm-hmm.
So I will only say this to the listeners. Thank you all for continuing to show up. Thank you all for continuing to download and listen. But make sure that you give that feedback to the hosts because it means a world to an independent podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the same token, we need to thank and make sure we thank the Patrons too.
Yep.
Give them another shout out or two or 7. A lot of this wouldn't be possible without them.
Yes, that is very true. So.
Those good people are out there putting their own money out of pocket into supporting the bandwidth for this show.
And if y'all are anything like mine, they're very often your biggest advocates.
Yeah.
Like your patrons are not only footing the bill, but they're the ones that are every day out there pounding pavement, telling people you got to listen to this show.
Yeah. And honestly, that is one of the, and I'm not saying just for us, I'm saying if you have content creators out there that you love, and you may be able to give to one, so pick one and be a Patreon. There's a couple other options out there, but Patreon still by far is the biggest one. But find out who your favorite content creator uses, and even if it's just a month, maybe it's just $1 one time because that's all you got. Do it. So it just kind of, it lets the content creator know that, hey, yes, not only are you appreciated, but we went above and beyond and sacrificed to be able to help you out a little bit. And there's some content creators out there that honestly probably would never notice it, but there's a lot of us out there that are grateful for every penny. So, and I know Johnny, who joins us in the chat from time to time, and eventually we got to get him on this side of the podcast, also greatly appreciates everybody he gets. So, and on that note,
and I just want to say thanks for looking at my mug every week and inviting me. And
absolutely.
Also, don't forget to tell some of your ladies to join the Women Reload 2 ! Facebook site.
You bet.
Sorry, it's a girls only club. Jim will kick you out.
I've already done it.
Yes, I will kick you out too. And we've already had 1-2 ladies go out and buy reloading presses within the last week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We are becoming known as enablers.
Yes, yep. I was told I was a bad influence.
Don't you love it?
That's what.
No, I deflected to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's these guys' fault.
I call them the great enablers.
We'll share the blame.
Always. And on that note, gang, keep your brass shiny.
We're missing a couple of guys.
Yep.
Buy it cheap and stack it deep.
Do you think of a tagline yet, Miss Shrenda?
No, I haven't. I just
Shame.
know it won't involve the word pink.
Pink bullets hurt more.
Or at least look prettier coming at you.
You'll think of something. Take someone shooting, reload some ammo, tumble lube your bullets, and ignore Travis Buck and his powder-coated bullets, and Shrenda and her Skittle bullets, tumble lube, get all smelly and sticky with your bullets. But anyway, take someone shooting. That's the most important thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.